Hello and welcome to Warcourse Wrestling Network. You are gathered with us tonight for the most chaotic wrestling review show in the multiverse. This is All For.
NAWT NAWT.
Not.
All right. Yes, we are back on another Wednesday. It is Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. I think this will be our last episode in this format, and then we'll be reviewing these shows in short, I think, starting next week. So pay
I
attention
mean,
to
unless
that.
you guys blow up this episode. If you guys blow up this episode and it gets a bunch of views,
Then we can talk
who
about it.
knows?
Then we
We can
continue.
talk about it.
So, as usual, we're here to talk about Raw from 2 nights ago and NXT from last night. We're right off the heels of WrestleMania. It's the second Raw since WrestleMania. So, we're moving on to WrestleMania Backlash. So, we'll start with our Raw review. And let's see, this show started with let me get my little notes here because I don't have any. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so it showed a bunch of people. First of all, we're in Montreal, the home of Sami Zayn. So um, they showed Sami Zayn coming to the ring, other people coming to the ring, Cody, Jay, Damian Priest, all arriving throughout the day. Um, and then we had, which was probably the most emotional segment of the show. They decided to start the show off with Mommy, Miss Rhea Ripley in the ring,
Mhm.
explaining that she has to take some time off because she was injured in her exchange with Liv Morgan, which she made very clear that she's blaming Liv Morgan, um, which is fine. I mean, I get it. It's the storyline.
Oh,
Anika's
tablet's overheating.
response.
Shoot.
Uh, oh no. Anika's response to what she thought happened and being really mad at Liv Morgan, like you really fucked up and hurt her, is potentially an issue when I think I think it was an honest accident. So and Rhea coming out and furthering that is potentially gonna fuel some weirdos on the internet to continue to talk about um, Liv Morgan and whether she actually hurt Rhea, and should she be whatever. I don't know. So what do you think?
Um, I thought it was great.
Do you think there's anything wrong with her them playing up that storyline when people already really think in real life Liv hurt her? I mean, there's clearly a story, but is it also real life? I mean, did Liv really hurt her? Should people really be mad at Liv? And this storyline is going to make people mad at Liv because they think she really hurt her. I mean, you saw Nika's
Bitch,
response, which was you
yeah,
can't throw the chair like that. So
it's heat. It's somewhat true, and it plays into their story of how Rhea hurt her and put her on the shelf. Liv now hurt Rhea and put her on the shelf.
correct.
So this is one of those things of happy accident maybe. Rhea gets some time off. Liv gets heat, and when Rhea gets back, you have an storyline ready to go from the get go.
Yeah, I thought Rhea did a good job in this promo. I thought she came across as, as good as a heel can for being in this kind of situation. I thought it's unfortunately it's a bit of a baby face situation, unfortunately, and everybody loves her so much that they kind of cheer her, even though she's a heel. But she tried to do the best she could to give a heel promo and really lay it on thick on Liv Morgan. So, and then Judgment Day came out and they all hugged. And she got some words of encouragement from Damian Priest, and she told them to keep the group on top and look after Dom, as I guess she's going to be taking a break for a while. I guess we're not
Mm-hmm.
going to see her even in promos or next to the ring or anything. I kind of thought maybe she might still be in some backstage segments. I mean, I don't blame her. Take a break and go, have some time off. But I thought we might see
She
her in backstage segments or, at least at ringside while she's recovering or whatever. But it sounds like she's
she
going away.
deserves time off.
Oh, yeah.
She deserves time off. And I enjoyed the crowd going, thank you, mommy.
The crowd was great. Canada is always really good. Every time I pay attention to the crowd and they're in Canada, they always seem to be really good. I always like the Canadian crowd. So um, then we got the return of Sheamus. He is back. Sheamus is back, looking in really good shape. He had a match against Ivar, which I thought was kind of an interesting opponent for him to start. But I mean, it is what it. Ivar's one of those guys that can have a jobber showcase type match, but isn't a jobber. So he gets some offense in, but he can take a loss and look good. Kind of like a Rocky Romero. He can take a loss, but still look good and taking a loss and have a decent match, even though it's, he knows he's taking a loss. We all knew
Yeah.
Sheamus is getting the win here. It's his first match back and it's Ivar. So, but I thought they did okay. I mean,
Well, I imagine Sheamus is getting a title match at Clash of the Castle.
are you happy to have Sheamus back?
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I like Sheamus. Let me ask you a couple questions. No, one question though. They said if Sheamus wins, what is it? There's one more title he has to win to be the Grand Slam to have won them all. But
Intercontinental.
okay, but that can't be right because he's never won the belt that Seth Rollins and now Damian Priest hold because there's only been two people to hold that belt, and he never held the belt that Roman's held, right? So
I mean, he
and
held the WWE Championship and he held the World Heavyweight Championship.
but those are two different belts than what they are now, right?
I think the stipulation is 2 world titles and the
Okay.
2 mid card titles.
Okay. Okay. So any iteration of the main event titles doesn't have to be okay. Still makes sense. So I'm like, he definitely hasn't won the title that Seth just won for the first time ever. Like he won that one. And he was never the universal champion, so okay. But yeah, Seth defeated Ivar and he's back, so that's fun. Let's
I
see.
mean,
Then we
if you take that into account, then basically no one is a Grand Slam champion if you have to include Seth's title. Like I, I'm, I would think that Seth would be. Well, also you're counting Roman Reigns' new undisputed
right.
Universal World
Sure.
WWE
No one's ever won, right?
undisputed WWE Universal World Heavyweight Championship. That's a mouthful.
Could they put any more words in front of that, for that title name?
Well,
Yeah,
it's the
I mean,
WWE Championship. It's the Universal Championship. It's the World Heavyweight Championship, and it's undisputed because it's all of them combined.
right. Yeah. No, I get it. It's just it's too much. It's too many words. But like I was saying, I know he hasn't held that belt. So, but I guess that makes sense as long as you hold two main card belts and two mid card belts. I guess that makes sense. So, I get that. All right. So let's see. Then we had a lengthy video hyping up Sami Zayn's Intercontinental Championship win at WrestleMania. Nice feel good video for Sami Zayn in his
Mm-hmm.
home country and home area. The crowd was very into that and like that. Then we had a great, maybe my favorite segment of the night. Awesome Truth in the ring with Triple H, as Triple H gives them their new championship belts. Our Truth was in his bag. He was hysterical. He,
But
he's like,
this is also a situation of if you don't like the comedy in wrestling, if you don't like our truth, and this would really get under your skin. But for
it
us who
definitely very
love our
well.
truth and we love comedy in wrestling, this is the moment of the night.
Yeah, let me preface that. Like, there are times, and I'm not always like the biggest comedy and wrestling fan. Like, I don't just do it all. It has to be the right stuff done the right way. I mean, I'm not just here for random comedy all the time in wrestling. A lot of times, I take my wrestling far too serious. But this situation, I love R-Truth. I'm a huge Miz fan, and I thought this came out funny. R-Truth was hysterical in this, so
And the title looks
they got
great.
the titles look great. So they got new belts.
They are the World Tag
And
Team Champions, which I
yeah,
assume means that SmackDown's going to get new titles and they're going to be the WWE Tag Team Champions.
yes, that would make sense. That would make sense. That would make sense. Um, so after this moment, was there anything else you wanted to say about this particular moment in the ring with Triple H?
Um, the when he went on about magic tricks, I've seen him a rabbit pulled out of a hat. I've seen a bird pulled out of a hat. I've seen a woman get cut in half and walk away fine, but I've never seen someone make titles up here.
Miz is like, no, they were already there. He's like, no, they appeared out of thin air. Truth is great. He
Uh,
mentioned little Jimmy, which is always fun. Um, I'm trying to remember some of the specific lines, some of the things. He called Triple H something. I can't remember the name he called him.
Champa,
I know he was looking.
Champa.
Oh yeah, Champa. That's right.
And
Tommaso
then after this segment, DIY comes out and he's like, see, there's Triple H right there.
Yes, so that leads us to DIY versus the Creed brothers versus New Day for number one contenders for the titles that they just gave the Awesome Truth. And DIY got the win in a solid match. I thought the Creed brothers looked good here with two veteran solid tag teams, which is good for them because they're still pretty young, and getting their feet underneath them on the main roster. So this was a good showcase for them. I thought they looked good. Well, are you happy DIY won?
Yes, and I feel that Champa needs to start using the pedigree.
You would rather have DIY here than New Day?
I mean, I love New Day, but storyline
That's fine, man.
wise, DIY with Awesome Truth, it's it's the pay per view match, right? Like
Yeah, and there's
I'm,
something to be said. Good.
I'd love for New Day to get an opportunity at another pay per view. Like if you want to do New Day for SummerSlam, I'm completely here for it. But I kind of feel like New Day is going to get drafted and they're going to be going after Waller in theory, not Awesome Truth.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that definitely happening. I mean, I guess I'm happy that DIY got the win here. I don't have a problem with New Day at all, except that they've held those titles a lot, or tag team gold a lot in WWE. I'm happy to give somebody else another chance. The Creed brothers are young, and it would definitely help them. Obviously, they didn't get the win, so it's not going to be them yet. But in lieu of them, DIY, who's just come back together as a tag team, both guys, they don't have kind of the same history New Day as far as being around the titles so much. So I'm okay with it. Plus, they were gone and separated for so long that we got a break from them. So having them back feels kind of new and nostalgic at the same time. So yeah, I'm okay with it at the moment. Um, we'll see where it
Uh,
goes.
sh- yeah, shout out to the Creed brothers, though. It's nice having wrestlers who, are still in their 20s. I mean, for now, like they're about to be hitting their 30s, but still currently in their 20s.
Right. Let's see. I'm trying to. My memory's terrible on the show, so I have to have these little look at the notes here. Let's see. Drew McIntyre, Jackie Redmond is surprised that Drew McIntyre's laughing after watching what CM Punk did to him last week. That smile goes away fast. What do you think of this Drew segment?
Short.
Are you into CM Punk and Drew? Is it working for you? Are you here for it? Are you excited for it?
Yeah, but like, is it gonna happen soon? Like, I feel like
Yeah,
we're building up
yeah,
to like a SummerSlam match, and like it's April. Like,
yeah. I mean, how long is Punk actually out for? Yeah, no, it definitely seems like and yet at the same time, like we often accuse them of not having enough build too, right? So if you kind of know what you're gonna do, you can slow build this for months, even though it hasn't been overly slow. I
well,
guess it just
the
to
story's
date
already
so
been
far. But
set.
right.
Like, you can like do a chapter in the middle of Drew doing other things, and we can circle back around to it. Like, this angle's not over yet, you know.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
you don't have to reiterate it every week. Like,
Every
I mean,
week,
I
yeah. I mean, if CM Punk is actually out for another 2 or 3 months, and I mean, this is what they're going to do every single week. It's going to be way too much. Like you can't. Drew has to do something else in this meantime, and you can't just let him get cold either. So
it's not too much right now. It is absolutely not too much right now. I'm just worried it could get there if it's
yeah,
this every week.
I agree. I agree. Let's see. Then we had Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell defeat Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree. Candice LeRae breaking the rules again to get a win. Anything you want to say about this match? I know you're a Candice LeRae fan.
Yeah, pretty expected. Like, I wouldn't have expected anything different. Was not bad. Um, but I couldn't call it great either. It's a middle of the show match. That's where it was put. That's what it was. It was fine. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, these women are definitely, for all intents and purposes, I guess, mid card women. And so that's kind of where they're at the moment. Definitely, I mean, Maxine Dupree's lucky to still be on TV at this point. She needs so much work. I mean, listen. If you're gonna, here's what I don't understand, and I guess the difference is that you see one as a major star and not the other. But Maxine Dupree's struggling. She's green. She's having a rough time, but she's on the main roster getting TV time, and yet Jade, who is just now getting TV time, is just now getting her way into the ring. It's like you have a woman on there that's terrible, and another woman that's not anywhere near as bad, but sure, still needs some work. But you're not letting her on TV. It's just weird. The whole thing is weird. If I didn't
Candace
know
is in
better,
that. Candace is in that Dolph Ziggler spot where, like, Dolph said it himself. He can open a show. He can be in the middle of the show, and he can main event if you need to throw him in there. Candace feels like Dolph Ziggler in that way of, like, you need her to challenge for the women's world championship. She can do it. If you need her to open up the card, she can do it. And as we've seen, she's been in the middle plenty.
yeah,
Like, her match against Io Sky in NXT, like, that was a banger. And I wish we'd see more of stuff like that on the main roster.
yeah. No, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Let's see. Then we had a video hyping Damian Priest, and then Judgment Day kind of live. Um, the Finn and Dominic are not overly excited about his match with Jey Uso tonight, and Damian Priest is trying to convince them that it's all good, get them hyped up and motivated to just be happy that he's the champion and blah blah blah. What do you think of this segment? Anything you want to say about it?
it feels like it's growing to building tensions in the Judgment Day. Uh, Rhea's gone, and although Damien is the champion, it feels more like, I mean, he's thinking more to himself than he is the group.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with that. I think that WWE has a history of bringing factions together and then splitting them up fairly quickly. And I think Judgment Day has probably had its shelf life. I mean, obviously, it's a little different now that Vince is gone. Triple H has a little bit different view on things, as well as whoever else he's probably working with backstage that's helping him with creative and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a little bit different perspective now, probably. But at the same
Archer
time,
revitalized it.
yeah. At
Like
the
it was
same
growing
time,
stale.
yeah, yeah. Um, at the same time, I do think that, especially with Rhea gone, because she's definitely the biggest. Even with Damian Priest having that belt, she's still the biggest draw and name for that group, right? And so with her gone, it definitely loses a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I wouldn't have a problem with them splitting up, and I could definitely see it happening. Like you said, Dominic going with the LWO, Fit and JD doing some tag team stuff, and Damian Priest going off on his own, which I wouldn't be opposed to at all. So I guess we'll end up seeing what happens. But I definitely agree. It does feel like they're sowing the seeds of that to happen. So, but they've been doing that for a while now. I mean, they like to do this with factions or tag teams, even where there's always it always seems like they like to have that underlying sense of tension, right? Like, yeah, they're getting along now, but they could always break up. Look at that. Little things here and there always, I mean, so I don't know. I guess we'll see. But
And
let's see.
to me,
Definitely
I feel that the moment Damien loses that title, it might spell the doom for Judgment Day.
yeah, yeah. Do you think have they said how long Rhea's actually gone for? Like
So,
how long the rehab is for that injury?
I mean, it depends on the person, and we actually don't know
Yeah,
how bad it is because they haven't discussed it in detail.
I guess that's true. I guess it's true. I guess the reason why I was asking was my next question was going to be: do you think Priest has the title when she comes back, or do you think he loses it before she gets back?
What I can tell you for sure is she will certainly be back by the Royal Rumble. I am unsure if she'll be back by SummerSlam. I feel confident in saying that.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. Then we had
So,
Jackie Raymond. Oh, go ahead.
could he lose it before SummerSlam?
Probably
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
I don't. That seems pretty short to me. I mean, I know that's still August, or I guess right, August or July. Either way, it's still a few months away. But I mean, this is I don't know. I hope he holds it for more than just 30 days or something. I mean, that would be disappointing if it's you know a very short. Not that I necessarily am like the biggest Damian Priest fan, and not that I wanted to have the title, for whatever, but at the same time, like I'm not real interested in just hot potatoing it or switching it back and forth or whatever. So, and he feels like
um,
he deserves a little more than a transitional championship, and I think it lends more creed to the briefcase actually being on a person that deserves potentially to be the champion if they have a decent run. I mean, it's a fluke that you win the briefcase. It's a ladder match with 7 or 8 other people. You know what I mean? If you get it, it's pretty fluky and lucky. And then so you go out, you cash it in. Hopefully you win because you cash it at the right time. But then you only keep it for what 30 days and lose it. Like I mean, it just takes away from all the mystique of Money in the Bank and the some of the aura of the briefcase, in my opinion.
I mean, one thing I could definitely see is him losing the title at Bash in Berlin to Gunther.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what WWE is planning, but that's definitely something I could see. But like, we have a draft coming up in a couple weeks,
We do.
so
Yeah, we'll have to see. Everything's going to change when the draft happens. Well, in theory, right? In theory, everything
hmm
should change when the draft happens. So, let's see. Then we had Jackie Redmond talking to Chad Gable, who said he's had negative experience with other hostile hometown crowds, and he's not going to let the Canadian crowd intimidate him or allow him to let Sami Zayn have that hometown advantage tonight. What do you think of Chad Gable and this little promo segment?
it was okay.
It was okay.
I wasn't
You know,
crazy about it.
you almost always, you don't always, and you shouldn't because I want the title should be more than enough to want to fight. You generally have a heel and a face. And here you really have two faces. I mean, Chad
hmm
Gable's not really good at being a heel. That's just not his. He's much better at being a face. So, and Sami Zayn's a face. So it's a little weird at the moment with the two of them. Chad Gable trying to kind of be the heelish baby face, but that's
Well,
really
when
hard.
Alpha Academy was starting out, he did portray himself as a heel, and it
He
did
did.
work. But it worked so
Mm,
well that he ended up turning it into being a babyface.
Yeah, I still think I like him best as a babyface. I still think
hmm
it feels like his natural is when he's that happy-go-lucky, high energy, jumping around Chad Gable. That's probably I have a feeling it's probably what he's like in real life. Dulled down a little bit, but that would be my guess. I mean, I don't know. It seems like he has to work really hard. It doesn't feel natural for him to be a heel. Where some people you're like, oh yeah, they're, they're definitely heels. You can feel that they're just naturally you know, heelish.
Honestly,
It works.
I couldn't tell you like when it was that Alpha Academy switched from being heels to babyfaces because it just happened naturally and organically. But they
Yeah,
started off as heels.
that's true. They definitely did. Let's see. Then we had Andrade beating Dominic Mysterio. And then after the match, JD McDonough came down to help Dom with a 2-on-1 beatdown until Ricochet came down. What do you think of this match between Andrade and Dominic? What do you think about Ricochet coming to help Andrade?
Uh, I had completely forgotten that Ricochet was feuding with the Judgment Day until he came out.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes sense because they are feuding. Um, that's really the only way it makes sense because there's no real connection between Ricochet and Andrade.
Yeah.
So other than that, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So
hmm
um, that's where we're at with that. Um, Andrade, in my opinion, should be beating Dominic Mysterio. I think WWE sees Dominic as a pillar or a linchpin of the future, but at the same time, he still needs work. He still needs work in the ring. He needs work on the microphone. And Andrade's, up here a little bit more, and Dominic's down here. So it doesn't surprise me that
Um,
Andrade gets the win.
I'm
I thought it was
not
a good
sure
match,
if
though. Say that again. Oh, looks like I might have lost you. Oh, there you are.
okay, I'm back.
Yeah. So what'd you say? I missed what you said.
Oh, I said I think I'm having technical issues.
Oh, okay. All right. That was definitely important to have you repeat. Let's see. So Kathy Kelly asks Jay Uso about Tama Tonga and his attack on Jimmy Uso. And he questions adding members that we don't even know. Well, he says he needs to concentrate on Balor tonight. Um, what do you think about that new bloodline? I guess we're getting basically a new bloodline. Solo, Tama, I'm assuming Jacob Fatu and Zilla when they both
Fatu.
start and debut, that they'll be part of the new bloodline as well. I asked my other buddy that's a wrestling fan about, I said, what do you think about Solo in the new bloodline. And he said Solo's already dead for me. I was like, what do you mean he took too many losses already to still have that air about him? And he might very well be true. I hadn't really thought about it, but that might very well be true. I mean, he's gonna have to put in a lot of work to get back that kind of, unbeatable monster air to him, right? Or I don't know if he can.
Yeah.
So
Which
what do
was
you think
just a
of this?
year ago. It was just a year ago where we were like, oh, Solo could challenge Roman. Solo could become the tribal chief. Ah, Solo's
Yeah.
holding the necklace. Ah. And now it's like, oh, he hasn't won a match since John Cena. Oh, that sucks.
So Jimmy and Jay are gone. I mean, it looks like Solo's bringing in his people. Is the next step to kick Roman out ultimately when he comes back and Solo claim that spot? Does that work? I mean, is that storyline viable? Does anyone buy that?
See,
Do you want that?
here's the thing is that there's Solo, there's Roman, and there's The Rock. Like, Roman and The Rock will be coming back. Right now, no one else is there. Solo is acting tribal chief. And he could be taking that directive from someone else. The elders could have told him to do it. Or it could have been his own idea. We don't know until that story is being told.
It's true. Uh, you kind of shook your head and agreed he took too many losses. Can you still see Solo in the role of tribal chief, or do you think that they missed that boat?
It's not that they missed the boat, it's that they've been booking him into the dirt.
Yeah.
And if this is the start of a new era, if you will, and Solo goes on another monster run, he can build that back up in a couple months, I feel. But you have to build it back up.
Definitely. I agree with that. All right. So then we got Chelsea Green and Piper Niven defeating Katana Chance and Kaden Carter by pinfall. I like Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. This is a filler match in the middle of Raw. Doesn't really mean or have any, doesn't really mean anything. Anything you want to say about the match?
The team I wanted to win won.
That's the easy way to put it. Then we had backstage with Liv Morgan. She's confused why people are mad at her. Rhea hurt me and put me on the shelf. This is just karma. This is what Rhea deserves for what she did to me. How'd you think Liv came across in this? What do you think of the Liv Morgan revenge tour in general? Are you here for it? And
I halfway hope that Awesome Kong was just going to walk onto the screen when she said, "This is karma."
that would have been funny. That would have been funny. Uh, yeah, I mean, she comes across as believable for you here. I mean, is there anything about Liv Morgan that says you should be scared of her? It doesn't for me. I mean, I don't. There's nothing about her that I find myself laughing at it. It's not believable or scary or oh, Liv's coming. It's more like Liv's. I don't know. And I don't think we're supposed to feel that way about it. But
I'm fine with it, honestly. Like, I mean, what has she been doing before? Like, acting crazy, doing hardcore spots, not wanting to tap out, and now she's, I feel like it's okay.
yeah,
Like, I don't really feel she's about to hit the top of the mountain because of the change, but like, I don't think this is going to hurt her at all.
yeah. Let's see. Then we had a word from our new undisputed champion, Cody Devontae Rhodes, who reflected on his win at WrestleMania and talked about how Jey Uso needs to go about his task tonight alone. Um, just about everything that's kind of happened at WrestleMania. What do you think about this Cody segment?
Um, it was fine. Like probably one of his worst ones, but like Cody doesn't really have bad ones, so take that as you will.
Do you think he's talking too much? I mean, it
I
seems
don't
to
want
me
to say
that
that. I don't want to say that because, like, on the other hand, we had Roman, who we saw once a month. So
yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely a fine line. I feel like we've had a lot of Cody Rhodes in-ring promos on a lot. I mean, it feels like it's been on every show. I know it's not true, but that's what it feels like. It feels like we've been talking every show extensively. So it gets a little
but
old after a while.
but the
Too much.
crowd wants him. The crowd wants to
Yeah.
see him. The crowd wants him out there. The crowd wants to go, whoa, you know.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's true.
as the best friends say, you gotta give the people what they want.
Got to give the people what they want. Trent Beretta's no longer giving the people what they want. Congratulations, Trent. I love you for leaving best friends. That's right.
You should have
So
took a Rocky with you though.
it's
Rapungi Vice,
AEW
man.
tangent, AEW tangent on a WWE show. But let's see. Then we had Nia Jax backstage talking about the Rhea situation, and as you can imagine, she said that the title, she's not sympathetic, and that the title should be hers.
Hmm.
What did you think about Nia here and her little segment?
Like I had her slotted to challenge for the title again, anyways. So, like, do I think she's gonna win the title? Probably not. But she's definitely gonna be one of the contenders for it.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I like Nia Jax a lot. I don't have a problem with Nia Jax being champion. I do know that she gets a lot of heat, that she's been accused of not being the safest in the ring in the past. I you know, for me, even though she does take losses, which she shouldn't take as often as she does, I do almost feel like she's got that kind of giant feel to her that if you put the belt on her, it's really hard to find someone to take it off of her. So it kind of puts you a little bit in the corner. But I don't know. I have a feeling, unfortunately, and like Anika said, it's gonna really piss her off. It's gonna make me fairly unhappy. I have a feeling Liv Morgan's probably gonna win that belt, but
I don't think so.
no, you don't think so, huh? Who do you think is gonna win
Mm-mm.
it?
Alexa Bliss.
Huh?
I think she's gonna return and win the belt.
All right. Well, I guess we can see. I mean, I like Alexa Bliss. I mean, if in some regards, Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan are very kind of similar, but I like Alexa Bliss a lot more. I think she's a much better wrestler. I think she's a much better talker. I think she's a much
Oh,
better
much better.
actor.
Oh,
Um,
oh, like her selling is like the one person where like I fully buy it. Like, oh shoot, did she actually? Oh no, no, never mind. There she goes, just healing it up. Made me
yeah,
believe it for 2 seconds.
yeah, I'm a big Alexa Bliss fan. So, let's see. We had Jay Uso get the win over Finn Balor. And after the bell,
Yeet.
he was assaulted. You, you. Is there too much eating going on? Did Jay say yeet too much for you? Is it
Nah.
losing a little bit of its luster? Let's see.
I mean, I
After the
prefer
match,
LA Knight saying yeah, but or Daniel Bryan saying yes, but
does that stuff ever become too much for you? The the
uh,
the, the Stone Cold what's the Daniel Bryan yeses the
I don't think so.
no. The what got on my nerves after a while I really got
Oh,
tired of what.
oh, my favorite. Damn, that one's my
I really
favorite.
got. I got tired of the what when they started doing it for almost everybody. When it was just
Oh,
Stone Cold,
oh,
it was fine.
absolutely.
But once they started whatting everybody, it's like, okay, this is fucking dumb now. I'm tired of this.
Mm. I'm,
Ah,
I mean, they yes a lot too, but not to the amount that they what.
yeah. Um, the Judgment Day comes down and attacks Jimmy, but he manages to get away. Runs up the stairs, stands in the crowd, high fives a bunch of people, and the Judgment Day kind of watches on. What'd you think of this match with Finn? Are you surprised Jay got the win? Um,
This was a very solid match, I thought. Finn Balor is great. Uh, and honestly, right now, Finn Balor is like underrated.
yeah, I agree
Like,
with that. If that's possible, he's definitely underrated at the moment for sure.
I think he's still paying for what happened in his match with Roman.
Yeah. Let's see. Jey Uso runs into Sami Zayn and encourages him to get that win, defend his title tonight against Chad Gable. And Gable, on his way out to the ring, gets stopped by Bronson Reed. Says no matter who wins, the person will
Um,
have to answer. Oh, go ahead.
we skipped over the fact of Jey Uso left the arena after his match, and he went through the crowd doing the high fives and everything. And when he got outside, Sami Zayn was standing outside staring at the building, and they talked a bit. And then we saw Sami Zayn enter the way Jay left, giving the high fives and everything, shouting with the crowd, going around the crowd, and it was one of the best entrances I've ever seen, honestly. Like, I
That's true.
loved it.
That's true. Thanks for bringing that up because I had forgotten about that. So yeah, no, I mean Sammy was feeling himself in his home country as he should. And is Montreal where he's actually from? Is it's his hometown too? Is that correct, or is it
It's
just
at
he's
least where
kind
he's booked out of, and it's
of okay?
probably where his family resides. I
Okay,
would have to Google to tell you if that's where he was born and raised as a child,
all
because
right. But even though
Canada's
I
a
mean,
big
even
place.
sure, but even if it's just where he lives now, it's still his hometown, or not? It's still his town at the moment for
Hmm.
whatever reason. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's always good to see, that, and he's one of those guys because he's so high energy that he's easy to get behind. When
Hmm.
he's so likable and he's so high energy that he's easy to get behind and he's excited. You can feel his excitement, which makes you excited. Like you can tell he's honestly excited to be there in Canada doing this. He's loving it, and it makes you just appreciate it that much more and enjoy it that much more.
I would have been down for him being the world champion.
Yeah. No, I thought he should have beat Roman when they had their
Hmm.
match, but let's see. So then we had Sami Zayn successfully defend his title against Chad Gable in the main event of this episode of Raw. Happy to see the Intercontinental Championship still in that main event slot because, like we talked about, Gunther did a lot to raise the profile of that title. And I was a little concerned just whether Sammy was going to be able to continue to keep it there. And as long as they book it right, I think he can. And so giving it the main event spot is great. And the fact that Chad Gable and Sami Zayn are main eventing a Raw is amazing to me because, for all intents and purposes, really Chad Gable especially, but they've been kind of mid card guys for their careers. So, and even though this is a mid card title, with Gunther raising it up a little and putting them in the main event and giving them a solid storyline, really, they've made it a bigger deal. So, I enjoyed this match. I
Sammy's
I'm not
title
ready for
feels more
him.
important than Damien's.
Yeah, I would agree with that. unfortunately for for that title, I would agree with that. Um, I I'm not disappointed that Sami Zayn won. I think Sami Zayn should hold that belt for a while. I don't know whether or not it should be longer or less than Gunther. I don't know how I feel about that one way or the other yet. But
Oh,
that that said, I'm still a little disappointed with the fact that I do feel like they're never going to really put a singles title on Chad Gable, which is a little disappointing. I hope my friend made a comment about it's the Triple H era. Hopefully, Triple H sees Chad Gable as Kurt Angle as opposed to Vince, who saw him as Shorty G. So we'll just have to see. I don't know that he's Kurt Angle. I mean, a lot of people consider Kurt Angle maybe one of the best wrestlers ever, and I don't know if
mm-hmm.
Chad Gable will ever be that. But I can see kind of that comparison. But I would love to see Chad Gable get a solid singles run with the title. I mean, I think he deserves it at some point. Not here off of Sami Zayn at this moment in time, but it was just another kind of like, well, Chad's still not winning a title. So in that regard, I was a little
I,
disappointed. But
I see that, and I feel you on it, but the title he will win is the U.S. title, not the Intercontinental. And I'm calling
yeah,
it right here and right now.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully that is true. I thought this was a solid episode of Raw. What do you think of this? I mean, we've got 4 weeks between WrestleMania and WrestleMania Backlash. Is that right? It's next month.
Actually, I'm thinking right now, how would you feel Chad Gable beating Logan Paul at SummerSlam for the United States title?
Yeah, I would be fine with that. I mean, there
And
isn't
that's a
really any
9 month
story
run for
as
Logan Paul.
yeah, I mean, there really isn't any storyline right as of now between Logan Paul and Chad Gable, so they'd have to come up with something and figure out how to get there from here. But I'm all for it. I mean, naturally, it feels like Logan Paul's going to have a match against either KO or Randy Orton, but I mean, he could just move on to a totally different opponent at this point too, which I'd be fine with as well. Um, yeah, I mean, I'd much rather see Chad Gable with that belt than Logan Paul. I really like Chad Gable, and I think he deserves it. Whereas I'm not the biggest fan of Logan Paul, so that would make me happy. So yeah, I mean, I definitely have no problem with that. I thought this was a solid show. Like I was saying, we've got what 4 weeks between WrestleMania Night 2 and WrestleMania Backlash. Is that correct? So it's next month. And this is the second Raw since WrestleMania, so we got 2 more before Backlash, approximately. I mean, it feels like it's doing a good job of keeping us excited for Backlash and, keeping the storylines going. What do you think? What do you think of this episode of Raw?
Not the best of the year, but definitely above average. I'd say it was good. It had some dips in there, but not enough to make it down to being meh and average. It was above
Yeah.
average.
All right. So that is it for our Raw review. So that means the next thing is to kick on to our NXT review from last night.
I,
Dum, dum, dum,
I'd
dum,
like
dum.
to state one about Raw is that the highs were so hot. Like there were
Mhm.
moments in there that were just so fun that
Yeah.
like the dips of where I'm gonna go into the kitchen and make something like it equals itself out quite well, and like not every moment of 3 hours has to be something great, as long as you have great moments in those 3 hours to enjoy.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, so that said, NXT this week supposedly kicked off with the match that nobody else really saw, but everyone said took place.
Yeah, I don't remember
uh,
it.
I definitely don't remember. According to all the result reports, Dijak faced Noam Dar, and Noam Dar got the win. On my TV, NXT started off with Ilya in the open challenge backstage, and then went right into Lola Vice versus whatchamacallit. Oh, geez. Why am I drawing a blank on her name at the moment? Hold on. Sol Ruka, who just came back from injury. This is what I think her second match back from injury.
Is this like a
So,
Mandela effect thing?
yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. It seems really weird that all the places would have it wrong, but yet the TV. I wonder if for some reason they cut it at the last minute. It's really weird. I don't know. I don't, yeah, the whole thing is odd to me. But my TV started with Lola Vice and Sol Ruka after Ilya Dragunov was backstage and issued his open challenge.
Hmm.
So Lola Vice got the win here, which I'll be honest with you, I was really surprised because I feel like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Blair Davenport cost Sol Ruka the win, so I guess I get that because that's really what they're building to, right? Is Sol versus Blair Davenport because that's the match because Blair put Sol on the show, so Sol's
But she
badly
already beat
wanted.
her, didn't she?
Yeah, but still, no. When?
Oh, was it Lola Vice that beat Blair?
Yes.
Okay. So Lola Vice
Yeah.
has beaten Blair Davenport. Lola Vice has now
And now,
beaten Sol Ruka.
correct. Which really doesn't do much for the Sol Ruka Blair Davenport feud. It really warms it, really cools it down, right? I mean, it's like, okay, you guys can have your feud, but neither of you can beat me. So what difference does it make? And Lola Vice isn't even like, at this point in my mind, not even like a big dog on NXT as far as in the women's division. So if
She's the
these two women
breakout
can't,
star.
yeah, but if you two can't beat her, then what are your chances against Roxanne Perez or you know what I mean? Like it's come on. So or Lyra Valkyrie. So I don't know. Which is unfortunate because both of these women, Sol Ruka and Blair Davenport, I think, ultimately have better potential and upside than a Lola Vice, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion.
I don't know. I would put all three of them in the top five of the women in NXT right now, honestly.
Yeah. Um
Not
so
counting Julia.
Lola got the win in a solid match. But Blair Davenport appeared and knocked Sol Ruka off the top rope, which ultimately allowed Lola to get the win, furthering the feud between Davenport and Ruka. Then Natalie, not Natalie, Natty, the boat, appears on the whatchamacallit, the Titantron, and says that she wants an NXT underground match with Lola Vice next week. They're just never going to learn, are they? I mean, Raw Underground was always bad. It was never good, and now they're going to try and do it here again. Like,
Better
okay,
NXT than Raw.
a better NXT than on Raw. Yeah, what a failed experiment that was. That 10 o'clock hour from 10 to 11, the third hour of Raw Underground. Remember that door guarded by Baba or Dabakato and fucking. Oh man, that was terrible.
They
Okay.
also did the other gimmick where like the third hour of Raw was going to be like PG-13, and they would dim the lights a bit. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
don't. You remember that?
I do. They've tried to do a lot to make that third hour better and more, watchable because a lot of people, I mean, 3 hours is a long time. That's WWE pay-per-views other than WrestleMania used to be 3 hours. And that's basically a pay-per-view. I mean, to be fair, it's got commercials and stuff, so it's not quite as jam-packed. But it's essentially like watching a pay-per-view every single week, and that's a lot. I mean, especially if you watch SmackDown and NXT. Now you're talking about 3, 4, 5, 7 hours of TV of WWE programming every week. That's a lot. So yeah,
And
those
I'm the
matches
kind of
at the
guy
third
that
hour.
if I'm spending $50 to watch a pay-per-view, I want it to be at least 4 hours. If I'm spending that much money, I want at least 4 hours.
Yeah. Okay, maybe you can tell me because I clearly missed the boat here somewhere. 2 weeks ago, Ridge Holland retired in the ring and said he wasn't coming back, and this week he wrestled Joaquin Wild. So, do you have any background on what happened here? Why he's back in the ring?
There was a weird thing with like him accidentally hurting people. He accidentally hurt the dude from LWO with a door,
Right.
and
No, I mean I know why
I'm
he was retiring, but
I'm
I don't understand.
confused.
Okay, yeah, good. Not just me.
And Sean Spears then came out after the match, and so like
Yeah, so not only just to be confusing, Ridge retired 2 weeks ago. Now he's back wrestling, and he got the win over an LWO member who, in theory, should be getting the win. I mean, Joaquin Wild. I mean, the whole thing's weird. And then yeah, Sean Spears comes out, right? Um, and then Sean Spears and Ridge Holland have a little. I mean, they don't really interact, but they kind of do. I mean, they have a little
mm,
whatever moment. Are you here for Ridge Holland versus Sean Spears?
I mean we already saw it.
Are you here for it again?
Not so much. I'd like to see Sean Spears face other people. I'd like to see Sean Spears versus Tony D.
That would be good. That would be good. I think Sean Spears should be in that main event slot. I think he's good enough to be there. I mean, that's a good spot for him. I don't know if he should be beating Tony D yet or at any point, but he should be at least losing in a quality match.
He faced Joe Gacy at pay per view, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Let's see. So then we had Ivar and Briggs arguing over who's going to challenge Obafemi next. Briggs told Ivar to go back to Raw and get his ass beat by Sheamus. Ivar challenged Briggs to a match, and the winner gets a shot at Obafemi. What do you think of this? What do you think of Ivar and Briggs? Are you here for it? I guess
It's all
not.
right. Like I wouldn't say I'm here for it, but I'm around, and I guess I'll stick around for it.
I mean, we wanted more for Josh Briggs, right? I mean, we talked about wanting more for Josh Briggs. We were happy that he got away from the Brooks Jensen, Fallon Henley, bad soap opera drama they were doing. The dude is really a really solid wrestler. And I know that we had been talking about being happy that it looked like they were going to be giving him more here. I hope he gets the win over Ivar and that he's the one that they actually end up pushing. Um, um,
Well, they
and
had the match that night.
no, I know. We hadn't gotten there yet.
Okay.
No, I know. So I was trying to, but yes, you're right. They did. We'll get to that. But at this point in the show, let's put it that way. How about that? At this point in the show, I was hoping that Josh Briggs would get the win over Ivar, and that he would be the one to challenge over Femi.
They're both solid competitors. Ivar is a very entertaining wrestler.
Yeah, he is fun to
So,
watch.
like, I would have been happy regardless of the outcome.
Then we had Thea Hale backstage apologizing to Andre Chase for treating him so poorly when they had nothing but faith in her. I guess she's back full swing and Chase U fold. It is what it is. Anything you want to say about it?
I feel like JCU has gotten really stale.
I agree. I mean, if it was ever exciting to begin with. I mean, there was a period of time where I guess it was a little warm because they were giving it they were booking it warm, but for me, it never really hit. I mean, I never really enjoyed it. I never was a big fan of the JCU faction. So let's see. Tony D We have a Tony D segment in the ring. D'Angelo family puts over everybody, says they faced Ilya, which is the hardest challenger. Then Charlie Dempsey and the no quarter catch crew interrupt him. They don't appreciate the way the D'Angelos have been doing business on live TV.
I'm never going to
And
remember No Quarter Catch Crew unless like it's written down in front of me. Like I'm just like, oh, that one group that Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey are now.
you mean NQCC doesn't roll off of the tongue? Even the initials are terrible. I mean, it's like yeah, they put. It seems like they overthought it. It's like they didn't put enough thinking into it, but then they like overthought it at the same time. Like the name itself isn't really terrible, but at the same time it is. It's weird. Like I get what they're going for, and I kind of understand it, but at the same time, yeah, it's too much. It's too many words, and it just doesn't flow right. And um,
What's the deal with British people pretending to be American?
there is that. Well, I'm not sure why they do that. I don't have any idea why they do that. Are you
It,
here for D'Angelo Dempsey?
uh, yes, yes, I am, and I hope Dempsey
D'Angelo,
wins.
do you think we'll actually get D'Angelo family versus like the no quarter catch crew, or is it actually just going to be Dempsey versus D'Angelo?
There's no telling, but there's likely to be some involvement because, I mean, let's face it,
Do you have a
there
preference
usually
one way or the other?
is.
Do you want this
If
to be a
D'Angelo's
team?
winning, I'd prefer interference.
No, I guess not just interference, but I guess my question is, should this be like faction team warfare type of situation as opposed to just a one-on-one feud between Dempsey and D'Angelo?
I mean, if you're
I
asking
mean,
me to pick on which match I'd rather see, I would pick the singles because, like,
okay,
the like I'm not too hot on the sidekicks on either side, to be honest.
so there you go. All right. Let's see. Ilya Dragunov is waiting in the ring for his open challenger tonight. And because it was a first come, first serve, the first person to basically put themselves in front of him, everyone started to charge the ring and fight each other to try to get into the ring first. And out of nowhere came a Javon Evans that I'd never heard of, I hadn't seen
Oh,
before.
oh, he debuted
Uh,
last week.
oh, did I? I guess I must have.
We didn't
I
review
don't
last
remember.
week, so did you not watch it since we didn't review it?
No, I probably didn't. That's probably what happened. So that makes sense.
Uh, he,
Usually when
he
we
is
don't review it, I
phenomenal.
don't watch it.
He
Yeah,
kind
he
of
looked really
reminds
good.
me of like a young Kofi Kingston. Like he has solid in-ring ability, and I think he's going to be a big star. He's like what 19 right now. He's
Yeah, he's
going
like
to
19
beat
or
us.
20. Yeah. Yeah, he's very young. He's tall and thin. He needs to kind of bulk out a little bit, grow into his body a little bit. But yeah, no, I mean this match was fun for what it was. I mean, it's Ilya got the win. He's a champion and he should. This is a guy that no one's really familiar with and new to the roster and making his
His
way up.
second
But I
match.
thought, yeah, but I thought he handled himself well and I thought it came off well. I mean, Ilya doesn't really have bad matches ever. So against anybody. And this was another one of those, where you can say, Ilya didn't have to carry the guy, but Ilya definitely helped the kid have a good match and look good in losing. And I thought it was solid. I enjoyed it. Let's see. Then we had uh Thea Hall versus um, Tatum Paxley. What do you think of the new heel Tatum Paxley? Are you here for it? The kind of gothy heel, dark Tatum
Better.
Paxley? Okay, you like her better, a little more memorable, a little less forgettable. Let's see. Tatum got the win here over Thea Hale.
You're,
Um,
I give Tatum Paxley's heel turn a thumbs up.
a thumbs up. Uh, After the match,
Hmm.
Hale attacked JC Jane. Um, and Lyra Valkyrie hopped the barricade to attack Paxley. Are we getting Hale? I mean, are we getting? I'm sorry, we're gonna get Hale versus Jane soon. They've got to bring that. They've got to tie that up and finish that soon. And it looks like we're gonna get Lyra versus Paxley. It looks like those are what's coming on out of this ultimately. Are you here for all that? Do you want to see Hale versus Jane? Do you want to see Valkyrie versus Paxley?
I'm, I mean, sure.
I mean, sure.
Mm.
Um, oh, okay, yep. So then we find out that there will be a triple threat match at Spring Break-In next week for the Women's Championship, where Roxanne will be defending it against Lyra Valkyrie and Tatum Paxley. Are you interested in that match? I assume Roxanne will get the win. Although I am always nervous because I do think that these multi-person matches, where the champion doesn't have to be pinned or take the loss to actually lose the title, that's always seems to be a natural way to get the belt off of somebody without having to show them actually take the loss. So I'm a little nervous about that, but they
He
just put the belt
just
on the
won a
champion.
title.
That's what I mean. She literally just
Yeah.
won it, right? So I can't imagine she's losing it right away. Um, and I honestly, I don't think
I,
she should be losing it to either of these women anyhow. I mean, Lyra Valkyrie, okay,
no.
is solid, but Tatum Paxley's not at that level yet. I mean, Lyra's already been champion, so it is what it is. But Tatum
I
definitely.
mean, Lyra becoming champion surprised me when it happened.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
Um,
Uh,
I don't think Tatum's ready. Uh, Lola Vice is going after the mid card North American Women's Championship.
yeah.
Blair Davenport and Sol Ruka are intertwined with each other. Like, there's no other woman on the roster that can compete for it. Like, your next biggest star is okay. Fallon Henley, JC Jane, Ariana Grace, Gigi Dolan,
Yeah.
Thea Hale. I don't see any of those women winning the women's championship. I'm sorry. I don't see
No, I
any of
don't
them
either.
doing.
Not at this point. I don't either. I would agree with that 100%.
So your best bet is Julia, who hasn't even wrestled a match in NXT yet.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, that's probably the sad truth of the situation. Yeah. They need to revamp the women's division in NXT for sure. They need to bring some. Julia will help, but they need to bring some other people in or get some new blood that's better. I don't do something. I don't know. Eh, I guess make the women that are there better, train them better. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know, but something needs to change with that women's division.
I mean, the other option is like Cora Jade when she comes back from injury, but like, is anybody wanting that? Are you wanting that?
No, I'm not. I was never a big Cora Jade fan to begin with, so she doesn't really move the needle for me to begin with. So, um, you know, and even less honestly, like I didn't like I didn't like skateboard Cora, but I really don't like heel Cora. So, I that works even less for me than skateboard Cora. Honestly, as dumb as skateboard Cora was. So no, that doesn't do anything for me. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, now that we're sitting here talking about it, even though I don't necessarily like when they have um, people come in right away and get a title shot or win a title right away, the reality is that Julia there's nobody there to compete with her, really. I mean, even Roxanne Perez is not on her level. Like, I mean, and she's at the top of the pile right now. So, no, I mean, in all
The
reality,
names that we named. So you got
yeah,
Roxanne Perez, Lyra
okay,
Valkyrie. You got Blair Davenport. Blair Davenport could very much so compete. And
yes,
then you got Sol Ruka and Lola Vice. Those are your five. Those are your
yeah,
top five women. And
yeah. The
unfortunately, most of them are in the mid card instead of.
Yeah. Now Blair Davenport's really the only one that I could see giving Julia a viable match or, feud. And they're not booking her like that at the moment. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, at this point there's no reason why Julia shouldn't come in at the top of the pile. I mean, so let's
The way
see.
that Asuka did, the exact way that Asuka did back in the day, where she comes in and she spends her entire time in NXT undefeated until she goes to the main roster.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Then we had Final Testament. Authors of Pain come down and squash Inoue and Blade. Um, it seemed like Inoue and Blade were getting a little bit of a push at one point, and now they've definitely been cooled way down. I guess because Authors of Pain are back, maybe they filled that void of needing a big, tough tag team. And so because they've already been there and proven that they can do it, those guys get that spot. I'm not totally sure, but
Well,
okay.
we had the OC come in. We had LWO come in. Last year, the New Day came in. Like
Yeah,
we, the tag teams are the real big one of like people coming in to fill in spots. Like aside from them, you got Natalia and you had Dana Brooke before Natalia.
right. So Authors of Pain win this match, but really this is the story of Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus the Authors of Pain, right? That's gonna be their next title
Hmm.
defense. So, or their first title defense, I guess. Really, Frazier and Axiom come out to the ring, but they're held back by the referees, and so on. They're trying to get to the Authors of Pain. That's really the story here. Are you interested in Authors of Pain versus Frazier and Axiom?
Not really. No.
No. What about it doesn't is it Fraser and Axiom? Is it the Authors of Pain? Is it just that the chemistry doesn't feel right? Is it I mean what about it doesn't work for you specifically?
Well, first of all, like authors of pain, they're okay. They look the part. Their promos are mid. Their matches are mid. Like they look good.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I mean that's why they're with Paul Ellering because they can't talk, right? I mean neither of them can talk. So and they're not even let Paul Ellering talk at this point. I mean he doesn't even talk. Only like I mean the group itself, Final
They did
Testament.
win the Dusty Cup.
Yeah, yeah. Um yeah,
That's
I
what
mean
I can say about them. They won the Dusty Cup.
yeah, no, I mean there definitely seem to be WWE, this isn't the first time that it feels like they've kind of pushed the Authors of Pain. So I think WWE likes them, and as a result, they keep wanting to seem to try to make something of them. So I don't know. We'll have to see what ends up happening here. But yeah, I mean, first of all, Authors of Pain is a dumb name, for one, and two, yeah, like you said, they're really mid. They can't talk, and in the ring, they're not great. I mean, they're okay, but they're not great. When it comes to like powerhouse tag teams, they're not really moving the needle for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate them. They're not bad. I'm not, you know,
Right.
they. I don't feel like they shouldn't be on TV. Like they're fine being on TV. They look the part.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Then we had Ariana Grace and Gigi Dolan shopping, trying on a fancy dress. Um, I don't, I don't really have anything to say about this. This was dumb. I mean,
But like
I mean,
they
I
used
mean,
to be the tag team champions, and like that's wild to think. Like they
right.
were feuding with the Shield and beating the Shield. Like
Mhm.
boggles my mind.
Yeah. I agree. So Ariana Grace shopping. Any interest in Gigi Dolan and Ariana Grace shopping?
Okay, so a bit of backstory on me. I come from a pageant family,
Okay.
so I actually really enjoy this, and this is the most fun I've had with Gigi Dolan on my TV.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's okay. I mean, I didn't think it was great, but it's not terrible either. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
Like, I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying I personally enjoy it.
So we were talking earlier about who was going to get the chance to wrestle Anofi, not Anofi, I'm sorry, Obafemi for his
Oh, but
title. Uh, and, and Josh Briggs and Ivar were going to have a match later in the show, and this is the time in the show that they had their match. Unfortunately, Josh Briggs is wrestling with broken ribs, and I think it ultimately affected him a lot in this match. At least that's the story they were telling. And Ivar got the win with what they're calling here the Doom Salt, which was a very interesting looking moonsault. I mean, he's a big dude to be doing a moonsault. I don't know if it looked great or not. That's a personal opinion thing.
no, EO
But
Sky.
it is what it is. And Ivar got the win. What did you think of this match? Were you surprised that Ivar got the win?
Um, I was cool with it. Like, I was pretty 50-50. Like, Ivar's cool. Josh Briggs deserves a push, but they did it in a way that still protects Briggs. Like, I feel like with how he was selling the ribs and everything, that if he beat Ivar on NXT, like Ivar's like in the dirt. Then
Yeah, I agree. Ivar's a veteran enough wrestler that if his opponent has a major injury like Josh is supposed to have, especially when it comes to ribs, he should be winning that match. He knows well how to take advantage of that, how to win that match. And even though we know Josh Briggs and even though we know what he's capable of, they're just now starting to try to tell that story a little bit. And so they haven't had a chance to give him that. So he shouldn't be beating Ivar with broken ribs because they haven't given him that kind of story yet or that kind of whatever yet. So I think we're gonna get there ultimately, but right now that's not necessarily how they presented him. So um, it is what it is. So then we had our main event of this episode of NXT, which was Mello versus Trick 2 in a steel cage. Uh, Trick getting the win again, 2-0 over Mello. What'd you think of the steel cage match? And what'd you think of Trick getting the win? And what about this feud?
so like normally, like you win one, you lose one, and then you go into the third.
Yeah,
Tricks won twice.
yeah.
Fans love him,
Hmm.
and you had Ilya on the main roster last week,
Hmm.
so why not put the title on Trick?
Well, I mean, at the end, we saw Trick was sitting on top of the cage, and Ilya was in. I guess they're calling it the bird's nest here, so they're looking at each other. So I think that's definitely what's going to happen. And so here's my question for you: Mello was here. He had already kind of made a name for himself. Then here comes Trick to help him and be kind of his hype man. And I think it helped elevate Mello, right? He had the belt, helped
Yeah.
elevate Mello. Then Trick ultimately the tables kind of turned with Trick and Mello, and now Trick is kind of in the bigger picture, and it feels like Mello's taken this step back almost in popularity to Trick, and now Trick is really the more popular of the two at this point. I mean,
Uh,
it's weird.
Mello was a known wrestler on the Indies. He comes into NXT. He's the breakout tournament winner. Trick, no one knew who he was. He
Exactly.
like I don't think he I think he came from sports. He didn't come from indie wrestling.
Correct.
But he seems to like be a sponge to it. Because like I remember when he started out and when Trick Williams first debuted and I was like, this is making Mello look bad. And now look at Trick after what? And what's it been? 2 years?
Yeah.
Like
At most.
he's completely become like a star.
Yeah.
And he's done it so quickly.
Yeah. And I guess that's my ultimate question: is his star currently brighter than Mello's?
I think so.
Yeah. Which is really interesting because at the time Mello was destined for greatness. And I'm not sure he's not still, but it feels like he's been surpassed by the guy that was brought in to be his understudy. And now I don't know, it's kinda, yeah. Mello's
I,
cooled down a little bit for me.
I mean, I think Melo's better in ring. I think Melo gives a better promo. But Trick has a handle on the audience that like you cannot teach.
Yeah.
Like when he debuted on SmackDown, like he had never been on the main roster before. Everyone in that crowd was going, whoop that Trick, whoop that Trick. They already knew. All of them already knew who he was and knew what to say.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things where I often mention it. There doesn't seem to be real rhyme or reason, and it's always interesting to me who gets over and how they get over. Clearly he's not the talker or the wrestler that Mello is, but he's got that energy, that aura. I mean, not that Mello doesn't, but there's almost a little something extra. The Trick has, like you said, the control of the crowd, the ability to, I don't know, he feels almost slightly more relatable, I guess. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, no, I think he's definitely taken a step up over Mello as far as he's the biggest draw right now, or the biggest star on NXT, I think. Even with Ilya being the champion. And that's saying a lot.
Like, I mean, now that you say it, yeah, like he feels bigger than everybody else. No. I'd say he's probably bigger than Baron Corbin too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, no, it's definitely interesting. I assume that he'll be beating Ilya for that championship, and then Ilya will move on to the main roster, and we'll probably get Mellow Trick 3. I don't know, what happens there, but that would be my guess. And then
If
hopefully that's the end of it. I mean, hopefully Trick moves on to something else. I mean, I don't know what that
if
is, but
if Trick keeps improving at the rate that he is, like he will be world champion in the future.
yeah, agreed. All right. So before we go, what do you think of this show, this episode of NXT overall?
Pretty mid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was great. I thought the main event was solid. I didn't think it was a great cage match, but I thought it was solid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was disappointed with Josh Briggs and Ivar just because I want them. They could give you more. I think we could have gotten more from that match than we got. And I don't know if Josh Briggs really has hurt ribs or not. And maybe that's part of the problem. If that's just, the story. And so they just cut it short because that's what
Yeah.
they're the story they're telling. But either way, I would have liked to have seen them get a little bit more time. And again,
Ilya's match was good. Lola had a good match as well. Like the wrestling on the show was pretty solid. But it's not just about the wrestling, it's about everything else around the wrestling. And if it was just the wrestling, I probably would have given it a good.
yeah, no, that's fair. I think that's fair. I don't really have anything else to say in response to that. I think that sums it up pretty well. So, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I do think this is probably our last episode of All for Naught in this iteration. So make sure and tune in next week for a short review by Sammy on Raw, and I will be reviewing NXT. So make sure and check those out next week. And we appreciate all of you. And until next time, peace.